Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 a beaucoup de plus. Apple CarPlay intégré pour jouer vos tunes préférées, des fonctions avancées de sécurité, un rendement énergétique remarquable, puis même la petite odeur de char neuf qu'on aime tant. Tout ça en plus pour moins. Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 est le véhicule neuf le plus abordable au Québec. Achetez-le à partir de seulement 22 774 $, incluant un rabais à l'achat comptant de 2 600 $. Profitez de cette offre avantageuse chez votre concessionnaire dès maintenant. Jusqu'au 2 mars, des conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
Well, he's our favorite class action attorney, and he's on the line right now. Joey Zukran with us from LPC Avocats. Joey, welcome back to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Listen, every day it's another victory for Joey Zukran, isn't it?
Well, this one was a settlement, so a compromise. I don't know if we can define it as a victory, but definitely a victory for the public who are now able to make claims.
Let's get everyone up to speed here. Trudy Mason had it in the newscast off the top of the hour here, but this all involves Dollarama. Why don't you tell our listeners here this settlement with Dollarama?
So the settlement is a $2.6 million and change settlement fund in which the public, so people who would have purchased, when I say the public, I mean class members, of course, but it's open to anyone who would have purchased batteries or any electronics subject to those famous eco fees from Dollarama in between 2019 to June 2023. The exact periods and details are available on the settlement website. So the underlying case concerned a consumer who went to Dollarama, purchased batteries, and if you recall, on any Dollarama product, the price is indicated on that green sticker or pre-printed label. The problem or the issue which we raised was that in Quebec, under Quebec law, you have to include the total price, including the eco fees. Dollarama had it separated or fragmented into $1.25 plus 12 cents. In some cases, the eco fees go up to a little more, and the prices of the item go up to about $5 at Dollarama. All this to say that it wasn't displayed properly. According to us, Dollarama has since modified their practice across Canada and are settling the case on a Canada-wide basis, and the claims period is now open until February 14th.
Does there come a point here, because to qualify for a payout, right, you need to submit a claim form here, as you're saying? You know, I'm trying to think of Quebecers. It seems like 98% of Quebecers have bought batteries from Dollarama at one point in their life, right? So does there come a point where the settlement funds just won't amount to that much for people at the end of the day? How does that work out? Because I imagine a whole bunch of people might claim these funds.
Exactly. So very good question. So we can only get, the most we could have gotten under the settlement was capped at what Dollarama would have charged in eco fees, right? So if it turns out that way too many people decide to claim or to submit claims that they're otherwise not eligible, would have been otherwise not eligible to submit, then obviously the fund would be depleted. We have to balance making it easy for people to claim, making it easy for eligible people to claim without a proof of purchase, and also to deter fraud. So we believe we struck the right balance, which is no proof of purchase necessary, but you're going to have to confirm when you submit that claim under penalty of perjury that you actually did buy during a given period. We ask very basic questions like the month, approximate year, and city. So you don't have to say I bought it at Cavendish Mall on June 3rd, 2021, but you do have to say that you bought it in Montreal in the month of June 2021. We have to have some measures to deter fraud. Now, in the event, to answer your question, in the event that the settlement fund is not enough, so in the event that the actual e-transfers, which can vary between $3 to $10 a person, are less than $3, then in that case, the court approved the settlement, which says that the amounts would be distributed to charities that are related to the case. So
gotcha.
I don't think we'll get there, because that would mean that the claims would exceed something like $350,000. Okay. That's a very high number for this type of case. I think we're going to hit the sweet spot where people will receive anywhere from the $3 to $10 we estimated.
Let me ask you this, just more broadly on class action lawsuits. I think there was a settlement against Facebook in this province. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you've heard about it as well over the last little while. And I saw the total dollar figure in the settlement was $9 million, right? And I said, well, geez, it's like $1 per Quebecer, right? It's not really going to amount to much. But tell me about when you go to these class action lawsuits and at the end of the day, there may not be a big portion of money. Tell me why it's important to still go through the process of these class action lawsuits.
Well, this is a very good question you're asking, and I can speak a little bit about the Facebook case, but in general, the Supreme Court stated that one of the main reasons of class actions is also not just financial compensation, which is one of the main reasons, but it's also deterrence and to hold companies accountable when they cause minimal harm on an individual basis. And we want to deter them from saying the cost. Say no, let's take Facebook. I don't know the exact issues, but let's use that as an example. $1 a person. Say I'm a merchant, any merchant, a bank, Facebook, a telecom company can say, I'm going to steal $1 a person or overcharge $1 a person, knowing that nobody in their right mind will sue me. There's a famous saying from a judge in the States where he says, only a lunatic sues for $10, right?
Uh-huh.
But when you aggregate all the claims together and know that the company knows that we'll be faced to a class action, the legal fees on defense side are not cheap. So they'll probably have to spend several $1 million just defending, plus the $9 million that they're actually going to have to pay out. So there's a deterrence element to it as well, and to ensure that companies stay on side and comply with the law. So it's not just, how much money am I getting in the pockets of people, which is a really important component, but it's also about ensuring that corporations comply with the law and not make a business decision to say, well, nobody's going to sue us and we'll never be condemned. When you aggregate these minimal and small claims, it becomes a big claim that becomes a serious message to the companies involved.
In that Facebook lawsuit, and it all had to do with privacy breaches and people's private data being used. In that case, money's going to be dispersed to universities, so UQAM, Concordia, Université Laval. How does that process go? When you figure out, okay, we can't do a claims process where everyone gets to claim and get $10 or $100 or whatever it is. Let's pick some institution that can get the funds. Is that the judge that guides that? The both parties? How do you end up on where the money should go if it doesn't go back to consumers?
So the settlements are negotiated between the parties themselves, and I'm not involved in the Facebook case at all, so I can't speak to it. It is subject to court approval. So the judge is going to have to look at this and say, okay, there's $9 million. How much is it? Let's say it would not have been a settlement. It would have been a judgment on the merits. How much is it going to cost to get $9 million into the hands of 9 million people? Don't forget, if you send a stamp, I was going to say a stamp, but they're on strike.
Yeah, but I get the idea.
You're looking at least $2 to $3, maybe more, to issue that stamp, that payment by check. If it's an e-transfer, you're looking at $1.50 to $2 in e-transfer. So if it's going to cost, and the law provides for it, the Code of Civil Procedure provides that if the distribution to the public is impracticable, too costly or onerous, basically if it doesn't make sense economically to pay $3 to issue a $1 payment, then you could pay class members indirectly. And so the lawyers in that file, who are very experienced lawyers, I think it's the same law firm that won the tobacco case, are going to have to convince the court that the indirect payment to class members by way of payments to the associations or the organizations they chose is a fair and reasonable outcome to pay class members indirectly versus directly.
Joey, just before I have to let you run, on the Dollarama settlement, where do people go to claim their funds?
www.dollaramaehfsettlement.com. If you Google Dollarama EHF settlement or Dollarama class action settlement, it should direct you to that website.
Dollarama say those letters again.
Dollarama EHF, so environmental handling fee. So EHFsettlement.com.
Okay, perfect. Joey, be well. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a happy holidays if you don't speak.
You too as well. Enjoy the holidays.